We are the world. That is the subject for tonight. What is this about? That is, we are the world. So, of course, you know, one of the first books I read connected with spirituality was a book of Krishnamurti. And I think the title of that book was The World That Are You. And basically, when you look into the book and you read the book, the essence of the book is that how you perceive the world is unique. Whatever you meet in the world is your experience, not necessarily the experience of the world. And even if it is the experience of the world, it's still your experience. It's how you experience the experience of the world. And there's something incredibly beautiful about this. And something horrible about it as well. So the beautiful thing is, you know, that we all have our unique experience. Our unique experience colored by our personality, our beliefs, our contractions, our traumas, our past, even our family past, maybe past lives. All of this has an influence on how we are experiencing the world. And it's unique. It's like a fingerprint. Nobody is experiencing the world exactly as we do. And that makes us special. Not that we are more as a tree who's experiencing the world in his way or her way, or a little girl or a goose or maybe a fox. They all have their unique experience. But the special thing is that it's unique. Nobody is experiencing the world like we do. What is the horrific thing about it? The horrific thing is that it's kind of lonely. Because we're never totally able to share our impressions, our perception with somebody else. It's unique. It's different. It's individual. We can share to a certain point, but to really perceive the world as somebody else, as your brother, as your sister, as your mother, as your best friend, as your partner, as your lover, it's almost impossible. It's not true. It's not working. We can get close, maybe. But not complete. And partly not complete because, you know, the perception of the world is so complex. We are so complex. There's so many different layers. And then again, when you look to all these different layers, you know, they're perceiving at the same time. And even we are not completely, as an individual, conscious in the moment of everything we are perceiving. We can be focused on a tree and we perceive the tree. But if we really focused on the tree, we hardly hear the birds. But then there's a strange thing, because if we go back in our memory and we see the tree in front of our eyes again, and we ask ourselves, what did you hear at that moment? Then the song of the birds is coming forward as well. That's a little miracle if you think about it. That's a little miracle, is that we even perceive more as that we're conscious of at the moment. And that's just on the surface. Because if we look, how do we perceive the world? Or if we turn it around, how is the world perceived by us? What comes forward? What comes into our perception? And again, there is a precision in this. What comes in our perception is connected with our needs. What we exactly need in the moment, as an experience, as a feeling, as an impression. And of course, when we're very grandiose, we say, okay, the world is serving us. This eagle is flying by because as a deep sign that I need this, as a sign to understand something. And just at that moment, the phone was going, and that was because I had to realize. And then when you're with your brother in the same room, your brother says, the phone was just ringing. What is your story about? It was disturbing what I was telling you. Your attention was totally gone. So we all have our own story. But when we look to the depth of it, we perceive exactly what we need in the moment, in our unique process with the world. And in this process with the world, we in a way project in perception, in action, in how we feel, in what we express. We exactly project our inner world, or at least part of our inner world. And by projecting part of the inner world, the world, our environment, is basically giving us, in its multiple dimensions, exactly the response we need. And that makes our life, our impressions, our perception, our experience from moment to moment, our teacher. It gives us exactly what we need. It's a reflection of where we are. When we look into the world, we recognize ourselves. It's a mirror of where we are at, what we experience, what is there, where we open to. So in a way, we all know this, because if we are in love and we look around in the world, everything is in love. Everything is beautiful. Everything is alive. Everything is dancing. If we are depressed, the whole world looks heavy and dark. Nothing makes sense. Nothing is connected. If we are sad, even the trees are crying. If we are entangled with injustice, we see an injustice in every corner. There's injustice in how the cat is following the bird. There is injustice in how the neighbor is parking his car. It's all very upsetting. If you're angry and irritated, your partner has never been so irritating. And of course you have to be angry. How could you not be angry when your partner is behaving like this? So selfish, so impossible. So we are the world. We are the world we perceive. And understanding this, we can use this. Because, we all have ideas about the world, about how the world is working, what is happening. And of course, part of us thinking, wait a moment. Of course, there is a kind of objective world. And when you look into it, some people are really behaving in a way which is not right. Some people are believing things which are totally off. Some people are cruel. Some people are lovely. Some people are great. And some people are very small. Some people are deep and some people are superficial, and that's there, for sure that's there. Yes, that's there. But is a person only great? Is a person only small? What do we really see when we say some people are great and some people are small? Some people are wrong and some people are right. Some people are cruel and some people are nice. What do we really see? Is this really the person we see? Or do we see a little bit of behavior and this behavior is touching us? And by touching us, we give it a name. We define it. We make a story of it. We make a story of it in which we place it in our own reality. And in our own reality, it makes sense. So what would happen if we wouldn't place it in our own reality? It wouldn't make sense. We couldn't understand. When a good friend is telling a story of what happened, what he experienced, and we listen to it, every sentence, every feeling we place in our own experience, in our own understanding. And through this, we try to grasp what a friend went through, what happened. We try to understand. And luckily enough, such a blessing is that we look more like each other as that we differ, although we are unique, because we can get close to this understanding. There is an understanding possible. We are able to replace, but we are only able to replace according to our own window we look to, colored by our own experience, our own background, our own beliefs. So not easy and interesting, because what we understand, what we perceive, how we see it, again, is a mirror of our own beliefs, perception, structure, way to understand, way to organize the world around ourselves. And that's, of course, we know this. This is not new. We know this because we remember when we were a 10-year-old boy or girl, the way we looked into the world and how we perceived reality was totally different as how we do it now. At that age, the world was much more black and white. Now we know that there's a lot of gray as well. As we say in Holland, that the soup is not as served as hot as when we eat it. I think that's a good translation. So, what I said before, there is a precision in it. There is not a precision in it that, in any way it's demanded from us that we look into the world objective. But there is a precision in our subjectivity. There is a precision in how the world is reflecting exactly the picture of where we are at the moment. Which window we're looking through into the world. And again, what I said before, different windows are possible. So in this, it's a kind of teacher. It teaches us exactly what we are experiencing, our unique experience. And this experience is not born in the world. This experience is reflected by the world. So that means that every experience we have is a teacher. It's about us. It's about our process. Every understanding we have is about ourselves. It's telling something about us. Is helpful. The movement of our eyes in what we look at and what we ignore tells us something about us. How our hearing is working, what we hear, what we pick out of a conversation as essential, as important, is about us. So in this, in a way, life is our teacher. Perception is our teacher. It's all quite narcissistic when you think about it. And at the same time, it's not. But let's leave that for a moment. So when we look into the world, we have all a feeling, what does the world need? What do we want from the world? How do we want to change the world? So a friend is very sad and went through a loss. What does this friend need? Not maybe the first kind of thing which comes into our minds to run away. It's too difficult, it's too complex, too painful. I don't know what to do. Oh my God, how do I deal with this? But then, maybe some compassion and empathy is coming forward. And when this compassion and empathy is coming forward, what does this friend need? So when we look into what does this friend need? What does the world need? What does the tree need? What does nature need? How guilty are we about the global warming? What does the global warming need? To just take one subject, which is not too political. What does it need? We all have a feeling with this. We have all a thought with this. What does it need? What does this friend need? So if there is an idea in your head what they need, what the world needs, what the friend needs, what the tree needs. So if you just turn it around and try to give it to yourself. And could it be when we extend this to the friend, to the world, to nature, to a tree, that by extending it outward, we also receive it because it's reflected back. We experience as much of the love we extend outward as the tree or the friend. We experience the compassion as much as our friend. It moves in both directions. So if we would kind of think, okay, this friend needs comfort, and we look at the pain inside ourselves, which is through this pain, we recognize the pain in this friend. Because if we didn't know this pain, we couldn't recognize the pain in the friend. We think, what the heck is going on here? So what would happen that instead of we we direct the comfort not to the friend, but we direct directly the comfort to the pain inside ourselves. Well, the friend is telling the story. What would happen? What would happen if a friend is really sad and it's touching ourselves and we feel the sadness inside ourselves and we are compassionate with the sadness inside ourselves? What would happen? Something opens up. Something opens up behind the sadness, behind the pain, inside ourselves. Something is awakened. Something starts to manifest. And this is kind of interesting because we play then with the mirror the world is to us. And what is happening is like a mirror and a mirror and a mirror and a mirror. We start to mirror back whatever opens inside us. And sometimes it works like this. You went through multiple difficult griefs processes in your life. Had some help here and there. And then you come to a position where you know how to deal with grief. You learned it. Life was your teacher. You have the self-confidence that you're able to contain the pain of grief. And a passion is born inside you. So you become a grief therapist. Passion to help other people in this extremely difficult process. And you are of help. And every time when one of your clients, one of the people you reach out to are reaching out to you for help, is expressing the depth of pain, your depth of pain is touched, you recognize it. And in it being touched, at the same time, the compassion and the comfort is born. It's born first towards your own pain, because this is the healing moment. And then it reflects out to the other. So what would happen if we are not be able to be compassionate to ourselves in that moment, to the pain in ourselves, which is happening a lot as well. So what do we reflect outwards? It will pass, don't worry. Time will heal all wounds. We will give the correct answer from a total different layer. So there is some beauty in it to kind of, to first, whatever is brought forward as an experience from the world inside you, to first kind of move with that, to see what this brings forward. What this brings forward as a response from the depth of yourself. And so where are these responses coming from? Where is this compassion coming from? Where is this understanding coming from? If we can move with the experience, where is this coming from? What is it touching? What is it touching? What is the deepest response which is coming forward, which is almost automatic? When we see a tree, and we look at the tree and we really perceive the tree, what is the response inside ourselves? Where does it touch us? When we see a friend in grief, what is the response? Where does it touch us? If we really allow ourselves to move with the experience. It touches us in the depth. What depth? It's real. What reality? So it touches us, especially when we're able to move, also with response first towards ourselves. It touches us exactly in our own core, the inner light, the non-dual part of ourselves. It brings us back home. So every experience we project on the world, if we can move with it all the way, it brings us back home. It brings us back to the non-dual part of ourselves. The compassion is a non-dual quality. The peace, which is maybe needed. The peace of a tree, a non-dual quality. The conflict, if we can move all the way with it, will bring us back into the peace. So, what happens if we take what we experience in the world as absolute? That's how it is. That's the reality, and that's the truth. So we have to change the world because something is wrong with the world. We have to get rid of all the evil people, lock them up, so that the world can become good. So quite clearly, this is a reflection of ourselves. But we don't see this, we don't believe it. We go into the world and we come to change the world according to our wishes. We don't go with the experience which is reflected back as our experience. So we estrange of our own experience. We lose ourselves in our own projections of our own process into the world. It's our difficulty with evil. The world has no difficulty with evil. The world is what it is. It's our difficulty with evil. It's our difficulty with wrongness. It's our difficulty with fear. All the fear has to be banned out of the world. It's our difficulty with anger. Nobody is allowed to be angry. It's our difficulty with war. It is our difficulty. It's our difficulty with cruelty. It's our difficulty with abuse. And not that I'm saying, okay, abuse is there, let there be abuse. We don't need to do anything about it, but what we project into it, where we lose ourselves. If we're not able to awake into the consciousness that what we see in the world is a reflection of ourselves. How we react is a reflection of ourselves. It's our conflict. It's not the conflict of the world. Because the world, when we look to the whole world, is non-dual. And if we move with this all the way, we move back to the non-dual part of ourselves. And this will touch the non-dual part of the world. Because the world is non-dual. The world is mirroring back to us our condition, and in this mirroring helping us to move back into the non-dual reality inside ourselves. And moving back into this non-dual reality inside ourselves, something is happening which is amazing. A shared experience is coming forward. It's not only us anymore. We are the world, and the world is us. We are one. There is a unity. On this level, there is a unity. Because every non-dual quality we contain is exactly the same as the non-dual quality in the world. The non-dual quality in me is the same as the non-dual quality in you. How we perceive it, how we feel it, how our nerve system is processing it, how we relate to it is all individual, unique, mine. But what is behind it, the light, is the same. God is the same in you as it is in me. It's one God.